Is bismuth a real crystal? Now, this is slightly contentious because some people are going to say yes and some people are going to say no. But they both have the luxury of being correct simultaneously because this is a little bit of a grey area. So I'm going to try and unpack this in as much detail as I possibly can. Is bismuth real? Yes, of course, it's an element. It's what's known as a post-transition metal, and it's 83 on the periodic table. I'll stick it up there. Now, bismuth is in its natural state something that looks a little bit like this. It's kind of just a grey, unassuming metallic material. But this grey, unassuming metallic material has quite a low melting point. So what they do, they'll use it for things like soldering on occasion, for example, because it has this very low melting point. So what they do is they melt it down at about 250 degrees. And because the crystal system or the atomic system of this is what's known as rhombohedral, so it forms in something that vaguely resembles a cube. Sort of think of a rhombohedron as sort of like a slanted cube. When it's crystallizing or when it's cooling down, as it crystallizes, it's trying to form into these little rhombohedrons. Now, because it's crystallizing too fast, what happens is it ends up forming into what are known as Hopper crystals, which are these bizarre step-like formations, which come about by virtue of the fact that it's desperately trying to form into its natural inclination, which are those natural rhombohedrons that come about by virtue of its underlying crystal arrangement. So as the atoms are sort of arranging themselves as they crystallize, they're trying really hard to form into rhombohedrons, but they can't because they're forming too fast. So they end up forming into what are known as Hopper crystals, which you see in things like halite as well, which in every sense of the word is natural. And a lot of people tend to assume that the colouring on here is unnatural as well. This is just sort of a bismuth oxide. So it's just a natural oxidation process that occurs on the surface of the material, which in every sense of the word is natural. So it's natural, but it's not. It's natural, but it has required some kind of human intervention in order to culture it into the shape that most of you are going to be familiar with. I actually think that bismuth crystals like this are a very, very interesting representation of physics. So you can consider them fake and you can consider them real, but in every situation, they are at least interesting.